The next time the world got to see Terry Bogard in action came in December 1992 with the release of Fatal Fury 2 for the Neo Geo arcade and home console platforms. The game picks up the plot 1 year after the first game with the announcement of a worldwide King of Fighters tournament being hosted by a mysterious benefactor named Wolfgang Krauser. Krauser is the half-brother of Geese Howard, the guy that Terry Hans Grubered at the end of the first game, and Krauser wants revenge on Terry, but not for the reason you think. You see, Krauser wanted to kill Geese, so now he wants revenge on Terry because Terry got Geese first, and that makes Krauser super salty because he's got this really big ego. He also wears this really big armor and has a freaking orchestra inside of his big-ass German castle, but I'm getting way ahead of myself. Since Krauser lost his chance to beat up Geese, he instead decides to try and beat up Terry, but only if the legendary Hungry Wolf can fight his way through another King of Fighters tournament, this time on a worldwide scale. As for the gameplay, Fatal Fury 2 is considerably less clunky and more responsive than the original, and retains the 2-lane battle system along with the unforgiving button-reading SNK CPU. It's also got a larger roster of playable protagonists, introduces 2 of SNK's most popular legacy fighters, and incorporates desperation attacks, which are basically the first super special techniques ever seen in a fighting game outside of SNK's other franchise, The Art of Fighting. In order to perform these super special desperation moves, your HP has to be low and the health bar has to be flashing. Fatal Fury 2 also adopted a 4-button combat system that would later become the standard style for the King of Fighters franchise. While playing through the arcade mode, you'll have to face off against the entire playable roster, including a clone version of whoever you're playing as, and then defeat 3 mini-boss fighters before getting to challenge the final boss in front of his orchestra. Since this video series is about Terry Bogard, I obviously selected him for my playthrough. Terry plays almost exactly the same way as he did in Fatal Fury 1. He has his 4 signature special moves: Burn Knuckle, Power Wave, Rising Tackle, and Crack Shoot, except the Crack Shoot and Rising Tackle are more reliable due to the more responsive controls. He also has a new desperation technique called the Power Geyser. This move is similar to the Power Wave, except instead of sending out a wave of energy, it erupts with a huge explosion when Terry punches the ground. As for the rest of the roster, I'll cover them as we progress through the game, considering that I'll have to fight them all anyway along my crusade to beat every Terry Bogard game I can get my filthy pirate hands on. After selecting my boy Terry Bogard, I got to pick my first opponent, and after a short deliberation with my editor, we decided to start on the far left side with Jubei Yamada. Much like Tung Fu Rue from the first game, Jubei is an elderly martial arts master who's also partially inspired by Master Roshi from Dragon Ball. Except instead of being based off of Roshi's stoic martial arts characteristics, he's more so inspired by the Turtle Hermit's goofy side.
You brought the baby.
Is that a problem?
Nah, it's fine.
He is legally obligated to inform you that he is—
Turtle, I've watched her poop. She knows what I'm about.
For this fight, we fly to Japan. I'm assuming the plane tickets for the tournament are paid for by Krauser because this dude is loaded, as you'll eventually find out. Terry and Jubei fight in this stage that resembles a traditional Japanese home and sorta reminds me of the Tendo house from Ranma 1/2. It's got these decorative partitions between the battle lanes that break away when a fighter jumps through them. The effects are really well done for a game produced in the early 90s. Jubei even kicks his sandals off at the screen before the fight, really showcasing the SNK team's mastery of sprite animations, something I'm sure I'll be bringing up at least a few times throughout the series. But when you're fighting here, I suggest you break those partitions as soon as you can, because it can get really annoying with how often the CPU in this game jumps between the lanes. Jubei Yamada's fighting style is built heavily off of zoning techniques. If you don't know what that means, well basically he's heavy on the projectiles and can also dash across the arena with a throw if you defend in place for too long against his pizza frisbees. That is what's happening here, right? He's throwing a goddamn pizza at me. That's what it looks like. After a tough fight with lots of lane switching, Terry was able to defeat him with some leg sweeps before he could advance to the next opponent. Before we go, however, I want to point out how goofy the music is on Jubei's stage. They literally chant his name over and over again, and I find it to be hilarious. For the next fight, Terry hops back on an airplane and flies back to the USA to face off against himself? That's right, Terry has a copycat. In fact, everyone in the SNK, nay, the entire fighting game multiverse, has a clone in some way, shape, or form. I refer to this blue-vested version of Terry as Barry, because he's blue, like a blueberry, and Barry rhymes with Terry. Other than that, there's not much to say about him aside from the fact that we'll be seeing more of him throughout the gaming career of the legendary Hungry Wolf. What I can talk about is that Fatal Fury 2 is the first game to introduce Terry Bogard's personal stage, along with what would become his iconic theme music. It's the Neo Geo train stage where you get to fight atop a moving rail car while the American Wild West scrolls across the background like parallaxing magic. This stage has even been recreated for the upcoming Fatal Fury City of the Wolves, featuring a few changes to the background with regards to the depiction of Mount Rushmore. Suspicious. Anyway, after Barry used his stolen fighting techniques to rough Terry up a bit, the true legendary Hungry Wolf laid down the law on identity theft with a well-timed jump kick to the fraud's stupid copycat face. One thing I really like about SNK is how much fun they're willing to have with their properties, breaking the fourth wall sometimes and playfully canonizing the off-color variants of their main roster with post-fight win quotes. Like this one, where Terry calls out his doppelganger, making those off-colored versions seem like they're celebrity fighter impersonators, or maybe even stunt doubles, for the scenes where someone has to get Hans Grubered off of a rooftop. What's that? We're not supposed to break kayfabe yet? Oops, my bad. After beating the crap biscuits out of Barry, Terry is shuttled back across the world at Krauser's expense to face off against an opponent that we're already familiar with. Does everyone remember Raiden from the first game? He was one of Geese Howard's big bad henchmen, the pro wrestler wannabe? Ringing any bells? Well, he's back, but now he's a babyface, one of the good guys. He even changed his ring name to Big Bear to sound more approachable, I guess. For this fight, we travel down under to Australia to fight in the outback in front of a big truck that I have to assume is filled with steaks and Fosters. That's Australian for beer. Oh, you're right, it does say bear. Unlike the last game where he spewed puke out of his mouth and did crossbody dives all over the place, in this game he prefers to do shoulder tackles, drop kicks, and big bear hugs to coincide with his new in-ring persona. But none of those moves mattered in the end because after losing the first round, Terry's inner hungry wolf awakened and he took down the big bear with 2 back-to-back victories, allowing the street fighting king of Southtown to continue his globe-trotting travels to become the world warrior of King of Fighters. For the next fight, we're off to Korea to confront who is arguably my second favorite SNK fighter of all time, Kim Kaphwan. This was Kim's first game, and much like Terry, he would go on to have a long career across the fighting game multiverse, appearing in almost as many games as the Hungry Wolf himself. His popularity within the fighting game community comes partly from his heroic sense of justice, and mostly because of his awesome Taekwondo-inspired fighting style and special moves. In this game, he has a bunch of neat kick moves that will become staples of his unique style for many games moving forward. He has this aerial dropkick that literally defies the laws of gravity, a super awesome flash kick that only gets improved upon throughout his career, and this sweeping leg kick where he yells, "Come get some!" and does the splits across the screen like the split sensei himself, Jean-Claude Van Damme. One thing I like most about Kim's stage are these guys that ride their motor scooters through the combat lanes. You can even knock them over sometimes while jumping between the lanes, making them regret their decision to casually stroll through a superpowered street fight. A superpowered street fight that Terry wins with a punishing sweep to the legs in the first round and a slow-moving power wave to win the second. I thought for sure Kim was going to dodge that. So now we're off to a bonus stage, hooray. To be fair, this one's better than the button-mashing arm wrestling in the first one, but only slightly. You get to punch these big stones that fall out of the sky, so that's neat, I guess. Anyway, after bashing up those pillars in India or whatever, Terry's flown by what's gotta be Krauser's private jet by this point, all the way to Italy for a showdown with his own brother, Andy Bogard. I talked about Andy a little bit in the Fatal Fury 1 section, but I didn't have any gameplay footage because I had over 25 games with Terry in them that I still had to beat. There was no time for an Andy playthrough, but since I get to fight him in this game, we're gonna talk about him again. Andy can be one of the most fearsome opponents in Fatal Fury 2 due to his quick attack speed and unique special moveset. He can fire energy blasts as projectiles that fly across the arena. He has this sick nasty helicopter spin move that'll slap you out of the air if you try to jump in close. He can do this crazy fast elbow dash that'll hit you before you can even try to burn knuckle. And to top it all off, he's got this spiraling handspring dropkick that'll zone you right into the corner and can catch you out of midair. But at the end of the day, he's still just Terry's little brother, so like any big brother would, Terry reminds Andy who the star of the franchise is, showing that the rising tackle and burn knuckle will always be superior to the Shiranui style of ninjutsu. Before we move on, however, I want to point out a few things about this stage. It's set in Italy atop this moving boat, and if you get a chance to peel your eyes away from the action and watch the parallaxing background, you might spot a few interesting and lore-breaking details. Like Tung Fu Roo riding a bicycle, or one of Terry's stunt doubles eating an ice cream, totally breaking the kayfabe by the way, and also Andy's hyper-needy girlfriend/stalker Mai Shiranui, also enjoying a delicious ice cream. But I suppose she could also just be another one of SNK's stunt performers in case they need to film any dramatic rooftop falling scenes. After giving the younger Bogard a good old-fashioned Big Brother beatdown, Terry travels to Hong Kong to face off against another one of Tung Fu Roo's old students, Shang Tsung. Shang Tsung trained alongside Jeff Bogard and Geese Howard back in the day when they were studying Hakyoku Seiken under Tung Fu Roo. According to the kayfabe, I mean the lore, he left before Geese killed Jeff to become a multimillionaire stock investor or some shit like that. I honestly don't really know or care. He's a fat annoying rich guy that got retconned into the Bogard backstory for some reason. He'll show up a few more times, but more or less he's like the distant uncle figure for the Bogards within the SNK universe, I guess. He uses Tai Chi as his preferred fighting style and has some awkward techniques that are extremely unorthodox, like blasting energy to propel himself like a big round bowling ball across the stage. Can we talk about the stage for a minute? It's called the Sea Palace. What the hell's a palace? Chang also does big fat belly flops, weird little bicycle kicks that can stop a bare knuckle, and smacks his big fat ass when he taunts. It was unfortunate for Chang that it was during this fight that I discovered a secret to outsmarting the OPAF button reading SNK CPU of the early 90s. For whatever reason, it loses its confidence when it doesn't have your inputs to read off of, which means it can't react fast enough in most instances to counter the charge motion of the rising tackle technique. The CPU will lurch forward hesitantly until you can catch it with that super signature special and send it flying into the sky. And that's exactly what happened to Chang as Terry Bogard swept him in 2 rounds with this tricky technique before treating himself to some jumbo at the Sea Plouse and then jetting off to the next challenge. We're going back to Japan because Andy's girlfriend must have found out about the beatdown of brotherly love that happened in Italy from her stunt double, and now she wants to take down the Hungry Wolf herself. This was the first appearance of SNK's spiciest female fighter, Mai Shiranui. She will later go on to become very popular, not only because of her flashy and spontaneous fighting style, but mostly due to her flexible attire and prominent hardware upgrades. There's even some argument within the fighting game community that she's the true mascot of the SNK Corporation on account of her spiciness and not Terry, but the legendary Hungry Wolf won't let that stand, no matter the cost. Anyway, when she fights she likes to throw fans, can do an aerial dive that's really annoying, spins around with the tail of her dress on fire, and has this crazy fast elbow dash just like her boyfriend Andy. Which makes sense. She is the granddaughter of the owner of the Shiranui Ninja School that Andy trained at. It's actually where they met. She fell madly in love with Andy during their time training together there, and since then stalks him to every street fighting tournament that she can in the hopes of attaining his love in return. Maybe we'll find out someday how that works out for them. We've got like over 25 more titles to cover, so surely this romance will blossom at some point, right? What's not gonna blossom is Mai's win ratio against Terry, because much like Chang, she found out that the legendary Hungry Wolf is here to rising tackle his way to the very top and make Krauser pay for wanting revenge on him for taking revenge on Geese for murdering Jeff 11 years ago. Next, Terry's off to Thailand for a reunion with the Bogard brothers' best friend forever, Joe Higashi. Joe's the Muay Thai kickboxing champion and was the only playable protagonist in Fatal Fury 1 who wasn't a Bogard. His fighting techniques consist of knee thrusts, speedy jabs, flashy kicks, and hurricane throwing uppercuts. Other than that, there's not much new to say about Joe. He'll get a bit more character development in later appearances, but in Fatal Fury 2, he's basically just another fighter. There's also not much to say about the fight. It went how you'd expect, with Terry, the hero of our story and video series, obviously coming out on top, while exploiting the surprisingly explosive power of his rising tackle technique, along with a good old-fashioned punch to the dick for good measure, reminding Joe who the star of Team Fatal Fury really is. Following the brutal battle where Terry bloodied up his buddy, the Elder Bogard hopped on a plane again, this time bound for the United Kingdom to partake in another stone-punching minigame. After the minigame, we get a cut to a video feed showing 2 unnamed fighters laying defeated at the feet of a mysterious armor-clad warrior. The scene then shifts to the British bad boy of Fatal Fury, Billy Khan, who's back again, probably also seeking revenge on Terry for the whole Geese Tower incident. And since he heard Terry was already in the United Kingdom, Billy figured it was time for another fatally furious fight between the 2 long-standing rivals. But, even though Terry is already in Britain, literally at the arena, since neither of them really like Krauser, they decide to charge the sponsor of the tournament for a plane ride anyway, and just do a loop around the planet. Another kayfabe-breaking moment that I think reveals the true locker room culture of SNK's superstar fighting roster. It's like the only way to make sense of the story plots while also appreciating the personalities and personalized story arcs that each character has within a fighting game franchise. The lore's already getting a bit awkward and redundant, and we're only in the second game. But you just wait, things are gonna get really wacky once we hit the KOF series. Anyway, Billy Khan and his big bash and stick are back, so let's talk about him for a bit. Much like in the first game, Billy will use his big stick to poke you from a distance, and in this game it can get even longer to reach you from even further away. He'll also spin the stick around to basically shield himself from any jumping attacks that you try to do. And if that doesn't work, then he'll just smack you out of the air with an overhead slam. During this fight, Terry really had to tune into his inner turtle, dropping down into a defensive stance and waiting for the British bad boy to move in close where he could catch him with the power of the rising tackle. Remember what I said about the SNK button reading CPU totally losing its crap when it can't react to your button inputs? Well, it's on full display for this fight. Just look at poor Billy flailing around wildly in frustration as Terry lets the clock run out to secure a win by technicality. After all, Terry's not out for revenge in this game. He's got no reason to bash up Billy Khan any more than he already has. Following the fight, we get another scene of the armor-clad warrior standing over two familiar fighters. It's Duck King and Tung Fu Ru from the first game, and it looks like they got the crap biscuits beaten out of them. Next, Terry's flown back to the USA to fight Axel Hawk, a retired boxer looking to reclaim his glory days by winning the King of Fighters tournament. Like the last stage, this one is limited to one single lane due to the electrified ropes surrounding the boxing ring-styled arena. If you get knocked into them, they will damage you. Like many other boxing-themed, boxing-related fighting game characters, Axel can perform a number of powerful punching techniques and even launch tornado-like projectiles across the screen. In the first round, Terry was able to outperform the out-of-shape boxer with some flashy jump kicks and his signature rising tackle at the end. In the second round, the boxing glove-wearing Bruiser took Terry down with a chokehold and a series of consecutive normal punches to the face, followed up by a clean and decisive hook. For the final round, Terry once again runs out the clock after hitting Axel with a few rising tackles, once again demonstrating that he's not out for blood in this tournament, that he's trying to rise above the cycle of vengeance that has motivated his ambitions from the start. Keep this in mind, because even though it happened by pure coincidence in my playthrough, it is sort of symbolic for the character growth that we'll see with Terry Bogard moving forward through the legacy of his video game history. After the fight between Terry and Axel, we're once again shown the armor-clad fighter standing over a defeated Richard Meyer and announcing his intentions to seek revenge on Terry for defeating Geese, really building up the tension for the fateful showdown between the legendary Hungry Wolf and the Sovereign of Darkness, Wolfgang Krauser. Before Terry can fight the extremely wealthy sponsor of the tournament, he has one more challenger to contend with, the bullfighting matador master of Spain, Lawrence Blood. Terry fights Lawrence in an actual bullfighting arena, with stampeding bulls charging across the rear battle lane like a deadly freight train and turning this into a single-lane combat stage. Lawrence also has some pretty devastating techniques, like a spiraling charge move that reminds me of a certain psycho-powered villain from another franchise. He can also pull out a sword and poke it at you like he's trying to skewer a rampaging bull. Too bad for him, he's fighting a wolf, not a bull, and the legendary Hungry Wolf is on a mission to rising tackle his way straight to Krauser to give him a good man-to-man talking to about how revenge never solves anything. Something Terry is starting to understand for himself from first-hand experience. After Terry lays the smackdown on Lawrence Blood, it's finally time for the main event. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the SNK Corporation proudly brings to you the epic conclusion of Fatal Fury 2's Krauser Revenge Plot, an exhibition of superpowered street fighting set to the backdrop of an elegant castle with a literal on-site orchestra. The legendary Hungry Wolf Terry Bogard versus this self-proclaimed Sovereign of Darkness, Wolfgang Krauser. Let's get it on!
Chisel your gravestone. Sleep well.
Now let me tell you something about Wolfgang Krauser. Let me tell you something about this purple-haired walking talking mountain of muscle, because this guy makes Geese Howard look like a little bitch. Krauser shoots high and low projectiles, has this awkward anti-air kick attack, can blast a giant wall of dangerously devastating damage-dealing energy across the arena, and loves to crossbody dive between the combat lanes like the annoying spoiled brat that he is. And unlike the rest of this game's CPU roster, Krauser is fast enough to oftentimes counter the rising tackle technique that Terry had used to carry himself through the latter half of the tournament. Krauser took Terry down again and again and again and again. And again. This is a lot. I had to hear Krauser boast about chiseling gravestones for so long that I wanted to go lay under a gravestone. But there's no time for naps. I've got a video to make, a Terry Bogard video to make. It's bashing time! But as you can see by the footage, not even that battle cry helped. And after almost an hour of Terry getting completely wrecked by Krauser's button-reading, Kaiserwave blasting, gravestone chiseling bullshit, he remembered something very important. Something that would prove to be the pivotal turning point of the entire battle. He remembered that these two final bosses were related, both of them greedy, spoiled, rotten half-brother bullshit artists. And they both suffered from the same inability to defend themselves during their recovery animations. So just like with Geese atop Geese Tower, Terry exploited this flaw in frame rates to defeat Krauser the same way he did his half-brother, by burn-knuckling the crap biscuits out of that purple-haired son of a bitch every time he tried to get up off the floor. Terry even got a perfect using this strategy in the first round of the final fight, just like in Fatal Fury 1 against Geese. Krauser managed to take the second round, but that's when Terry got even hungrier, like so hungry he was starving, that I haven't eaten all day kinda hungry. And that's when he realized he needed to go get some lunch, so he had to end the fight right now. And that's exactly what happened. 2 burn knuckles in a row and down goes Krauser. Then he gets back up, and he says something that I can't really make out, and then he falls over again. According to the lore, he offs himself out of shame for losing to Terry, and I'm sure there's a metaphor there about ambition and never giving up, like Terry kept getting in the ring after each loss versus Krauser, literally giving up after losing one fight. But it's not really important because Krauser will be back, so we'll chalk all this up to kayfabe. I'm also going to chalk this ending panel up to kayfabe because again it says 1924, which is not likely considering many of the modern style arenas we visited using the literal airline system. And that's the story of Fatal Fury 2, Terry Bogard's rise from Southtown's King of Fighters to the worldwide King of Fighters World Warrior Champion. Congratulations. Terry also learned some life lessons along the way about never giving up and how a cycle of revenge can become a never-ending story. We also got to see more kayfabe lore breaking, which is only going to get more obvious as we move to the next Terry Bogard game where they actually drop the storytelling altogether. Fatal Fury Special. It's sorta like a pay-per-view event where the SNK Fighting Commissioner decided to drop the story arc so that we could see some of our favorite fighters return with a new revamped combat system that's going to start to resemble a more modern styled fighting game. Neat! Okay, see ya!
Are you okay? Press the wolf!
Don't forget to like and subscribe. What up? It's me, Tiny Pirate Gaming, and if you're still watching, I just want to say thank you so much for your support. I hope that you enjoyed the video. It took me many months to film the gameplay, research SNK's poster boy, script and voice the series, and then finally edit it all together to produce this game hero history of Terry Bogard. Not to mention the days spent overcoming the unforgiving SNK arcade CPU of the early 90s to actually beat as many games featuring the legendary Hungry Wolf as I could get my degenerate fangirl hands on. I'm planning to produce more of the Game Hero History series in the future, so if you enjoyed this one and have any suggestions for who I should cover next from the Game Hero Hall of Justice, let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe. It's the easiest way to show your support, and I really appreciate it. And if you need more Tiny Pirate Gaming in your life for whatever reason, then follow me on Twitch for live streams, or join the Discord where you can discuss gaming, content creation, and more, along with me and the rest of the Hashtag Tiny Crew. Although it's usually pretty quiet over there, but, you know, maybe you'll liven it up, so come on in! There's also links to unlisted secret videos that can only be found in the Discord that are related to my personal animation projects, so you can check those out too if you want. If you want early access to all of my videos before they go public, along with other perks and benefits, then you can also consider becoming a channel member. Now a special thanks to the S-Class channel members, Rambo Robbie. That's still the only one? I know there's more members now, but they gotta be S-Class if they want me to read their names. That's the whole point of the perk. I don't know, maybe we're doing something wrong. Anyway, whether I see you here in the comments, over on the Twitch sphere, or someplace else across the Streamiverse, thank you again so much for watching, and until next time.
Arg, matey, watch your step. There be a tiny pirate here.
Okay, see ya! Don't forget to like and subscribe.